everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tag TV, Tag Radio. I'm Julie Bryant-Fisher. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Tag, and I'm joined today by two very esteemed guests from OnePath. We have the SVP of Sales, Tommy Mullins, and we have Michael Lane, our VP of Engineering. Thanks, guys, for coming out today.
Glad to be here, Julie.
Thank you.
Well, it's really nice to have you guys. OnePath, a really trusted partner of Tag. We have so much to thank you guys for. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about OnePath and what you guys do.
Well, OnePath is an IT solutions provider. We like to say we design, implement, and manage technology, whether it's from the cables all the way to the cloud.
Love it. That sounds good. And we're going to talk about AV today, right?
That's right.
AV as a service, a little bit of a new trend, but something that's incredibly vital to companies and especially the clients you work with, right? All right, let's dive in. So one of the things that I found really interesting in our notes is that you guys recently did a study on AV in the workplace. Tell me a little bit about what you discovered and why you did the study.
Yeah, so I think one of the things we discovered is we actually focused the survey a little bit more on small and medium businesses.
Okay.
There's a lot of surveys out there within the AV marketplace about really larger enterprises, right? And we wanted to find out more what are some of the pain points for small and medium businesses. What we found out is they're not that different from the larger enterprise either, right? They have a lot of the same problems with AV technology. A lot of the same problems getting their meetings started on time, using the technology, making sure the technology works, supporting the technology, right? So a lot of the problems there that we think AV as a service and OnePath that we can help solve.
I love it. And you guys talk about AV as a service, again, being sort of a fairly new offering. Why is that something that's super important for you all to talk about in that way now for your clients?
Well, as Michael pointed out, one of the main problems is getting the support that you need on the audio-visual. In fact, our study showed that 88% of the people use AV on a daily and weekly basis, yet 64% have a problem and an issue.
That would be me every time.
So we are kind of leading the charge on how to address that.
Okay.
Whether that's through simplification on the front side of the solutions and how easy it is to work. Our goal is that when someone walks in, it should be as easy as plugging in or connecting, and it should all work.
Yeah, let's talk about what we mean when we say AV services. So what are we talking about? Specifically the technology, like conference calls, video conferencing, those kinds of things?
All of the above, right?
Okay.
So just from being able to come in and just do a basic presentation within a conference room to maybe just a small handful of people to, a much larger group. But absolutely audio conferencing, absolutely video conferencing, web conferencing. What we've seen as a trend throughout, whether it's small and medium businesses or larger, is that there's a lot of remote workers.
Yeah.
Right? So the majority of people, especially who have a knowledge worker type job, they're working from home at least once a week, if not more.
Okay, so we're talking about really needing an integrated system. So if it's Zoom or free conference call or Blue Jeans or whatever all the vendors are, helping the company decide, because I know I can never decide, which one am I supposed to be using? So that kind of problem? Yeah.
That's absolutely correct. The solutions we put in has to be able to use all of those solutions. Right? Because the average person is going to get on 2 or 3 of those different platforms or products in a given day, depending on who's hosting the meeting and who you're joining with. The fact now that over 80% of our communication is nonverbal.
Oh no, have we gotten there?
We have.
We're
it's
there.
either, the ripping up of a speech. Nonverbal communications is
Very
critical.
important,
It's
very
critical.
Noticeable.
Very noticeable.
Right?
And it's out front. You make a
Sure.
statement without saying a word.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it really does apply to a company's need and your client's needs to put a really good face forward.
Exactly.
There's nothing worse than walking into a meeting or phoning into a meeting where you've got you first. No,
Exactly.
you go. That,
exactly.
all the way to if I'm trying to give a really important presentation and nothing's working and I can't figure out why, and I'm sobbing on the phone with IT in the corner, and by that time I've lost my momentum. Because this talks about some of the pain points. We were going to bring that up today. Let's walk through some of those pain points you commonly experience, you and your clients. Just some of the most common things that happen out there that go wrong and what you guys do to help folks with that.
tell you, one of the most common things we hear is lost productivity on those meetings, just like you mentioned, Julie. I mean, how many times do you go into a conference room to have a very important meeting and it doesn't work? Too many times, right? In fact, I'll let y'all in on a little secret.
Okay.
One of our sales tools is that we will actually go in and use the customer's audiovisual equipment. And it rarely, if ever, works.
Oh, no.
And we use that as an opportunity to demonstrate and say, well, if we had this, think how much more productive you could be. How much more productive your employees could be when they're utilizing this toolkit.
Can I ask a question? Why does it never work? Like, I feel like AV, and my team knows this, AV, it's the first thing that's going to blow.
I have a theory,
Okay.
and Michael, who is the engineer, can agree or disagree with
All right,
me.
engineer.
I have a theory. In the past, audiovisual has been one of the is a creative palette. And the folks in the industry have wanted to come in and design the most elaborate thing that could do all of these different features and functionality. And it almost said, who designed this masterpiece, right? And rarely does all these disparate pieces come together and work properly. We are leading the charge on simplifying. Simplify the toolkit. Standardize the toolkit. So that when you call in on our audiovisual as a service, we know what you have there because we support hundreds of them.
I feel like the weight of the world just lifted from my shoulders.
You know what?
Simple.
I hope our clients feel the same, Julie.
I don't
That's
need
exactly what we're
Michelangelo.
after.
We don't need Da Vinci. Just simple.
Exactly.
And then it works every time.
That's
and
exactly
anybody in
right.
the office can intuitively do it, right? I don't
You've
have to have a degree from tech like you, Michael, but I'm really
Sure.
glad you do, right?
Exactly.
I know that comes in handy, but that's going to be tough for customers and clients. And that integrated, simple system is what you
Exactly.
guys are saying is the best.
I agree. You agree, Michael?
Yeah, what I'd like to say is that, because I've been in this industry for 20 years almost, we used to walk into a client, say, what do you want this system to do? Right? And then the AV engineer would go, I'm a smart guy. I can figure out how to do every single thing you said within this room. And it ended up with something that wasn't easy to use and didn't work half the time, right?
Yeah.
So what we try and do now, what I try and teach, our AV engineers is to walk in and say, what do you want the room to do? But then walk them through how those things that they're asking for would actually work day to day. Because you'll actually find out that there's a number of those features and functions that maybe people really don't need
Right.
because it's going to make the system more complicated, right? So we do really try and simplify the systems. And just over a year ago, we upgraded some systems in our office. And one of the things that I like to talk about the most is that after we upgraded them, I had someone from finance come to me, right? You can imagine somebody from finance not going to be a technical person that knows how to work the AV systems, right?
Just like me.
And they said, I love the new rooms. I just walk in, I plug my laptop, it's just up on the screen, and I can have my meeting.
Somehow it
I didn't
magically
even have to
works.
think about it.
So I love this because it's like, I always say this to AV folks, it's like, all right, you speak robot, I don't. You're going to have to help me. And if I can just, my favorite thing is the HDMI plug-in, and woo, it's up on the screen. That's about all I can handle, especially if I'm in a hurry or I'm trying to get a committee meeting. I'm a little worked up about making this look good.
Absolutely.
The last thing I want is something breaking down. And so you coming in with that engineering head, but translating robot for the folks you're working with
That's right.
helps keep it simple.
Exactly.
All right, so now I want to know, what does the future hold? Crystal ball time. So I have certainly observed, as you all have, that the technology is getting better and better. Here at V-Link, they've got Jamboards. You guys have introduced really cool technology to your clients. What does the future hold when it comes to conferencing, call-ins, all that stuff? What do we see on the horizon?
So, I think really one of the things that we see and one of the things that we're, here to talk about today is really our AV as a service offering.
Got it.
Right? So we think you're going to start seeing more and more as a service offerings across the AV space, right? And so one path being a market leader in that, we want to be out ahead of the competition and putting out an AV as a service offering for audiovisual.
Excellent.
And so you may say, well, what does that really mean,
I was
right?
going to say that.
So what we are looking to do is have an offering out there where our clients can pay on a monthly basis and have a conference room,
Wow.
right? So, for maybe just a few $100s a month, they could have a fully working conference room. Completely includes all of the hardware, all of the installation, but even more importantly, all of the back-end support, right? So that you can actually call our help desk to get any questions answered on why can't I get this
Great.
system to function
Right away? Like
right away,
Immediately.
Okay.
Yes.
right?
hotline?
Hotline. The bat line for AV.
The turkey line at Thanksgiving?
The other thing about that's great is on this service plan. So at the end of a 36-month plan, we refresh it.
Excellent.
So you're always staying ahead. One of the challenges that we see is that people have systems that haven't been updated, even the firmware updated or upgraded in 5, 6, 7 years.
Okay.
You can imagine the security vulnerability in those systems that they haven't, not to mention the functionality that they're missing out on. So we really believe that the small and medium business wants to have a conference room that's constantly updated and upgraded so that they're ahead of the curve.
Tommy, you bring up such a great point that security is also an issue now.
Ah.
And people rarely think about that when they
Right.
think about AV. Again, I'm just trying to get the thing to work. I'm not thinking that I could be hacked. You all are thinking that for your clients.
Correct.
Yes.
There was a
Sinister.
study. There was a study done that said the number one vulnerability in an office was those upgraded audiovisual devices.
Wow.
Whether that's the control systems themselves or even the displays themselves that now have chips and other pieces on them.
No kidding.
Correct. So by keeping these firmware updates, you're staying ahead of that and making sure that you're protected. It's a very important piece that a lot of people don't realize.
So any other pieces of technology that you want to talk about that we might see in the future? Is video conferencing going to get easier? Is it the equipment and hardware itself that will change? Or is it
Very
just
much
the
so.
integration that we're going to?
Yeah, the video's becoming just as prevalent, right? And we have a piece called Pervasive Video. And what that means is that no matter what I'm doing, I want to be on video, so I want to have that nonverbal communication
Right.
that's included with that. And what you're seeing now is the complexity of those systems that used to be these large codecs and other things by some proprietary manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going away, and now it's integrating into your web conferencing and the other pieces. But what we're doing is integrating that into the system so you can use a high definition, better camera for the room, etc. But it connects directly into those web collaboration tools. Much easier to use.
Which is, again, we're using the word easy a lot. 'Cause
Right.
We know that's what your clients want. I know that's what I want. What are some of the main pieces of advice you offer your customers when you come to see them? Like, first things first, you got to do this. Second, this. What are those pieces of advice you always give?
The number one piece of advice that we see that we give is that they lack huddle rooms, collaboration spaces. Most of the time, in an old mindset, you would say, well, I have 2 conference rooms. Well, conference rooms are typically designed for 8 to 12 people, right?
Right.
If you think about the majority of the meetings that you have, it's 2, 3, 4 people. When you go take those rooms that are built for 8 to 12, it's difficult to have a 3 or 4 person meeting. The advent of huddle rooms, huddle spaces, collaboration spaces, and the toolkits that we provide in those are a game changer for business. You can have those meetings. Michael does a presentation that says, what is an office truly used for? Well, now that we have so many remote workers, work from home, geographic dispersed, really an office is to have meetings. That's
Yeah.
what you go to the office to do. And to have majority of more spaces where you can collaborate, where you can work on a single presentation together, connect in via video for other remote users in a small space for 3 or 4,
Right.
very productive environment.
That's so true. That's where we're at, right? With
Absolutely.
the gig economy and working from home,
Yeah.
working remote, all those things, those
Right.
terms that started some years ago and now are just our reality,
Correct.
necessitate a different office environment. You've got to have the equipment that's going to help you do that.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're way behind the competition. Speaking of competition, you guys differentiate yourselves from your competitors. How do you do that?
Well, the big thing about us is from an audiovisual perspective, I believe we bring more capabilities in audiovisual from a managed service provider standpoint than any of our competitors.
Okay.
It truly is a differentiated offering. A lot of our competitors who are supporting clients out there are trying to provide support. We have the history and the experience to do that support. I mean, having done large audiovisual projects in the past, from higher ed, the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, these type of environments that we've worked in give us a unique experience that we can bring to our small and medium business and our IT support clients.
Which is great.
Exactly.
So can I do a little testimonial? Because you all
I would
are
love for you
also
to, Julie.
a really valued partner of TAG, and I want to tell a little story. Can we tell our story about TAG North Metro?
I would love to, because I lived it with you, Julie.
You did. You lived it with me through all the awkward meetings that you were so nice to make it through with you. All right, so we opened up our brand new Alpharetta office about a year and a half ago. TAG North Metro, and we were so excited to have the space and get it open. We fling open the doors, and it's just raw space, and we're all Michelangelo and Da Vinci, and we're all thinking all the amazing things we're going to do. And someone said to me, "Yeah, you're going to need a low voltage provider." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what? That's robot." We come again, and you said to me, "We've got you."
We got you.
Yeah, and
That's
so
right.
we had so many decisions that we had to make that we didn't know we would have to make. And you all coming in to help us make those decisions and make recommendations and show us the yes and the no column, for why you should do
Exactly.
this. And, just being open with us, that is how you get a space done. And so
That's right.
few people, me included, would know how to do that. You got to have a trusted partner like OnePath to help you.
Absolutely, and we were glad to do it. In fact, that's a good experience of how we consult with our clients.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that. That's
Well,
very
it was,
nice.
Thank you for doing it, because I'm not sure we would have gotten this space open without you. And now, because we were able to talk with you guys early on, very early on, like nothing's even up on the walls yet, we were able to imagine not only what we wanted for our members and the folks who would be visiting us, but also what we wanted them to experience in terms of AV. We really wanted a great AV experience, because we needed to say this is one of the best spaces you're going to find in Alpharetta. You can do your events here, all that kind of stuff. And now when you walk in that room, even I can work the AV every time, which is really nice. So thank you for that support. It is always great to have great TAG partners. Can you tell us a little bit about what TAG means to you and why it's great to be a part of TAG?
Well, we love TAG, and we've been a member of TAG for some time. Really, if you're a technology company in Georgia, you should be or are a member of TAG. I believe it to be one of the largest and most collaborative groups in the country for technologists. It truly is. The people we want to do business with, it's also the people we want to associate with. So we're a proud member, Julie.
Great, love it. And looking forward to doing more. We're about to deepen our relationship with you guys.
We are. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag,
can't
but
do
we'll be
that.
providing more and more support for TAG, and we're excited about it.
We are too, and thanks for that. So at the end of these, I always like to talk a few personal things about each person that I get to interview, right? Have a little fun. So I know you're a tech grad from
Yes.
Pennsylvania. You've got an interesting story about Kobe Bryant. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Yes, so when I was a senior in high school, my high school basketball team made the state championships in Pennsylvania. I was not on the team, but I was in the stands cheering them on.
Nice.
In Hershey, Pennsylvania is where they have the state
Chocolate.
championships every year. And we were winning through 3 quarters. The 4th quarter came, and a player on the other team just kind of took over. And the other team won the game. The player who took over was Kobe Bryant. The very next year, he was playing in the NBA.
Amazing.
He was an amazing player in high school, and obviously one of the greatest of all time in the NBA.
Incredible.
It was exciting to see him play at such a young age.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And you've got a celebrity connection. So you tell me,
do.
you're like, I'm a local. I'm from Smyrna. I'm like,
I am.
like Julia Roberts, and you're like, yeah,
Of
go
course,
ahead.
yes. I went to Campbell High School in Smyrna, Georgia. And, claim to fame of Campbell, most people will say, oh, is that the school that Julia Roberts went to? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. She was a senior. I was a freshman.
And you remember her.
Of course, but she wouldn't remember me.
Oh,
But that's fine.
well. Well, listen, guys, it's been such a distinct pleasure to get to interview you both today and to talk about OnePath and all the services you provide to your clients and to talk about how you're a great member of TAG. We appreciate it. So thank you for your time today so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Julie. We appreciate it.